What's your name?
47.
They made me.
An assassin.
Your name is Agent 90.
Try 43 versions better than you.
Why don't you burn this program to the ground?
Hitman, Agent 47, rated R.
What's your name?
47.
They made me.
An assassin.
Your name is Agent 90.
Try 43 versions better than you.
Why don't you burn this program to the ground?
Hitman, Agent 47, rated R.
What's your name?
47.
They made me.
An assassin.
Your name is Agent 90.
Better than you.
Why don't you burn this program to the ground?
Hitman, Agent 47.
47. An assassin.
Your name is Agent 90.
Better than you.
Why don't you burn this program to the ground?
Hitman, Agent 47.
Wow, look at all these people here. Please let me know if you cannot hear me very well. We'll get started in just a minute. BRB. Okay. Game louder than your mic. Can't hear shit. Well, let me see what I can do about this. Turn down the audio and turn up the mic. Let me know if that's better. Yes, Dario, your art pieces were really great. I was very surprised that someone would spend that much effort, but that was awesome. Alrighty.
We get started?
Yeah, I started the feed slightly early, just so that people could roll in. Oh no, it's not early. It's time, actually.
I'm on time.
Yeah. Hello, world of the internets.
Yes.
Nick here feels like he has to have a scotch because otherwise he'll be too nervous or something, I guess.
I just don't like, talking to
So really,
being in here with you.
really quickly, what we're doing today is we're going to play a little bit of Giants MDK Kabuto, which of course Nick here created quite a while ago now at this point. He's going to be talking as I play about, you know, things that he remembers along the way, I suppose. But largely, I'm going to be fumbling around with the game. It's been quite a while since either of us have actually played the game very much, which is part of the reason why we didn't want to go straight into multiplayer. We didn't want to embarrass ourselves to...
Yeah, we'll probably do a few sessions on Giants, just because there's so much to cover. It took about 2.5, 3 years to make, although we were a very small team, about 6 or 7 people for about half of that, and then up to about 8 to 9 by the end. So it was a bit of a slog to get done. We didn't really quite finish it either, so we'll talk about that a bit later too. Do you want to kick it off?
Sure, let's do this. So you want to start at the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
Start at the very beginning.
I need to remind myself.
Apparently,
Everything.
Citizen Skippy's daughter smokes him in Giants multiplayer, which I think is the best thing I've heard all day. I'm gonna try desperately not to talk over this amazing cutscene dialogue.
Now, actually, right off the bat, there's a whole sequence that we cut from the game very early on. It was the Mech mothership, and it was actually outside in orbit. We built all this. You could run around inside, you could land the lander inside, you could actually fly the lander. So when you were going between islands, you were meant to actually use a lander to fly around. but it just got too big and too unwieldy, and we needed to sort of just simplify that bit down. So the ship got cut, although it may actually still be in the map. Who knows? I don't know if actually they've removed it from the map. But we had a whole exterior to the island, so you could fly through the sky out to space.
You vicious bastard! Super British.
Well, so half the team were British, obviously myself and Bob Stevens and Tim Williams. And, you know, we wanted to add a little bit of warmth and character to the mechs. You know, from London, my dad's a bit of a Cockney, and he came over one time and was like making us all roast dinners, and we're having a good time with him. And so we decided to actually make the mechs all Cockneys and give them a little bit of style.
Whee. Okay, I turned down the game volume as requested. Please let me know if you'd like to turn it down more. Pew pew pew.
Now the initial sort of concept when thinking about this, and this is the second PC game, the first one being MDK, and there's sort of design themes that were growing through those games. It's also the second 3D game. Each time building our own engine, which I don't advise doing that anymore. That's why we went up to like nearly 3 years, is mainly because we were actually developing the engine as we were building the game. And the tools we were using to build the game were actually in engine. So if there was a bug in the game, that actually stopped you from actually building the game. So it was a compounding issue.
It's like jumping out of an airplane and knitting your parachute on the way down, which is what I said on Twitter before, but...
So, you know, after MDK, I really wanted to do a multiplayer version of MDK, but I didn't want to do a straight sequel because I'd done back-to-back sequels with Earthworm Jim 1 and 2, and on the second one I felt really kind of worn out. Not that I was tired of the Jim franchise, I just wanted some time between the two. And so when I did MDK, and I was pretty tired at the end of that, I did not want to roll right on to MDK 2. Interplay wanted to go straight ahead. I had Giants in mind and wanted to get started on that, and then I wanted to come back to MDK. But they didn't want to wait, and then went ahead with the sequel with BioWare. Those guys are really cool. I'm glad those guys got to do it. It was obviously a little tough seeing someone else make a sequel to your game. I never really played it through because of that, and maybe one of these days I'll get back to MDK and do a follow-up to that sometime. But
is that better or worse than never having a sequel at all?
it's cool. I think it's cool, especially with a good group of guys like that, just to see what sort of direction it goes in. Obviously, it goes in a slightly different direction than the one you imagined.
You have a question, Nick. Have you ever played MDK2, which I guess you just answered?
Not really, no.
I did a bit, although to be honest, I can't remember that well.
But you know, it's very well
Oh
received.
my God, what's happening? Oh, that was freaking me out.
Actually, I rarely have time to play games because I tend to set myself up with such difficult challenges on these type of games that it takes up all my time. Rich is often like prodding me to like, check this out, check that out, and so I rely on Rich and the other team members to make sure I sort of keep up to date with sort of things.
Question, did the cancelled version Giants with tweaked MDK graphics had a more complex storyline than actual Giants?
I'm not sure which version of Giants you're referring to there. There was, like post the PC version, there was a planned Xbox version that we were trying to do with Interplay. But Interplay were running into financial difficulties at that time, and I didn't just want to do a port. I sat with Tim and Bob and we worked out how the game would be better on the console. We were really excited and we had a lot of refinements to make to the game. Because, you know, this game with so many different elements is really like a prototype. You know, it's a first pass, and really I was hoping to do Giants 2 and 3 to really fully flesh everything out at that point. So this Xbox version was too expensive for Interplay to go for at that time, and so they pulled out, which was a shame because it had a lot of refinements in there. It would have made the game a lot tighter and a lot more even as well, because obviously the mech's a little bit more developed than the other two characters. The Reaper's being the second most, and Kabuto unfortunately being the least developed character.
So I don't know if I've ever actually told Nick this, but the entire reason why I even know Nick is because of games like, well, Giants and Armed and Dangerous. I was at LucasArts at the time before joining on Planet Moon, and it was really just the fact that I liked Giants and Armed and Dangerous so much that I went and looked for a job over there after Lucas.
Well, you were telling me that when they were previewing Armed and Dangerous.
Yeah,
One
the
of
trailer.
LucasArts
The weapon
crowd.
trailer. Do you need me to lower the volume of the game some more? Okay, I can do that. 1 second, please, as I try to navigate too many screens at the same time. Game audio should be like super low now. Anyways, so at LucasArts published Armed Dangerous for the Planet Moon guys when I was still there, and they showed this trailer which nobody expected, but they're like, new game from Planet Moon, the makers of Giants, and it was this hilarious trailer showing the different ridiculous weapons, which I think you can still find on YouTube if you're interested. But it was so funny, and I became very enamored with the idea of doing this kind of game. So I joined Planet Moon way back then, hoping to make stuff like this, and honestly, we haven't even had a chance, really, until hopefully now.
Death to the Salad Eaters. Indeed. One of the best lines.
Ugh.
So I really like, I obviously I work on art and design, and I also so in charge of the audio and the style, the music. It's one of my favorite things to work on. And I was just listening to the Total Biscuit review of Giants, and he actually got a little bit wrong about the music, where Mark Morgan was credited on the music. He was the first musician that Interplay hooked us up with, and he had worked with them before. But really, before he got anything to us, he had to pull out through personal reasons. And we then met with Mark Snow, the guy who did all the X-Files music. And he's kind of like, a bit more Hollywood. We were like, ooh, this is interesting. We went down to LA to meet him. But we had a sort of like weird disconnect, I think, where I was trying to explain the game to him. The sort of lush, warm tones, the little bit of, for the mechs, Magnificent Seven style. And when I was getting some initial tracks back, they kind of reminded me of the X-Files a bit. It was like cooler, cold winds. It wasn't the Giants world, and we sort of went back and forth a little bit, not too far before we realized that it just wasn't quite a good stylistic match. But by this time, we were running out of budget because each time you go through this process, it costs you a little bit. And our games aren't huge budgets; they're kind of risks, a little quirky, so we don't get the huge budgets. So at that point, we were kind of running out of ideas and time when we were introduced to Jeremy Soule. And he came on. Now at this point, I was feeling a bit desperate. Like, what am I going to get? Am I going to have to settle for something at this point? And so I sort of gave him the overview of what we're looking for. And very, very quickly, he just sent me a track back and just hit it on the head. I was just so relieved at that point. And he worked out a deal with Interplay where he would do more music for us if he got the rights to publish it afterwards. And so they worked out a deal together. And then when he rushed in, and in a very short period of time, scored the entire game. And it came out, probably like 90% of what I was looking for in each of the characters. So that was great. We're hoping to work with him again on the First Wonder. We get that, kick-started and underway. We've had some conversations already.
You have a question over there. Oh my god, piranhas. Crikey! Oh wait, that's not British.
How come Giants has no proper intro? Well, because we used all our time really just trying to get the game to work. We didn't have much time after that. And as I said, before, we did actually have this whole spaceship sequence, more like a playable intro. But it was just way too much to get it to work. It was just very ambitious. And it was done very early in the game, and we decided just to cut it and just throw you straight into it. But we have plenty of story in the game, so hopefully that picks it up. And leaves a little bit of mystery about where everyone's from.
I forget, I'm supposed to drop these dudes somewhere? Oh my god. Ah! No! Go away! I wasn't paying attention because I was totally engrossed in what you're saying. What am I supposed to do here? I forget.
Oh,
I have to drop them somewhere, right?
Over. Yeah, there's a
Where?
smarty pad behind
Oh,
you.
hitchy. Where? Where? This way?
There,
That way?
There.
That way?
with the fences.
Oh, okay.
This bit was actually a little too tough for very early on in the game. A lot of things were changing at the last minute, and we were obviously doing this introduction to the Smarties. But the scale of the jetpack movement and catching these guys, sometimes when you're playing it, and this is actually my fault for making this bit too hard. I was just too good with the jetpack at that time, and I could like swing in and catch them all over the place. I thought, oh, this is working pretty well. And we didn't have a lot of focus testers in those days. In fact, I don't think we had any. So there are different times. Now that would be focused to play tester to death, and you work out where the right difficulty curves are. So it's a little uneven, though I don't think as uneven as MDK was, which had no playtesting whatsoever.
Kind of looks like he's pooping.
Only you would see that.
Well, you know, it's one of my skills. Stop pooping so I can get you. No! See? It's been long enough that I can barely even pull this off myself. And I'm also super impatient waiting for the rocket to fill.
Yeah, so as I said before, we were making our own engine with this. So sometimes we had to work on very different parts of the game out of sequence as just systems were coming online. Or they were like half online, and we'd go and work in that section for a while, and something else would work, or something would break over here, and we just keep moving around the game. Sometimes that led to a little bit of a disjointed feeling. We have to go in and try and smooth that out
While
afterwards.
they fall. Can I make them fall?
They fall by themselves and then get eaten by the piranhas.
Oh. I totally shot this guy, and then I'm gonna save him. What's that make me? The word for that, pariah or something? Woohoo! Well done, Mr. Bowser.
Yeah, so in a way, just answering the question that the sort of spaceship diving sequence would have been great like MDK. So in a way, it's an extension of MDK, only fully playable this time. Because even in MDK, that wasn't as far as I wanted it to go. So it was just taking everything further in this game. But other things became more important, like multiplayer and stuff. So.
Is it intentional that that Smarty talks a bit like Tim Williams? Like the way he talks, it just sounds like him.
No. I don't think it was intentional, but he was writing the script, so it's an English person.
Yeah, but there's like different accents and stuff.
Other things I remember not in the game was a creature that controlled the weather and a herder for the Vimps. Oh my goodness. And it made some really weird stuff for this game. That was just too weird and had to be cut. Yeah, there was a shepherd. He was this is something that Kabuto could make. He would go up to a pile of mud, scoop it up, go up to a volcano, knock the top off of the volcano, put the mud on the hot lava below. That would then turn into this creature, this mud creature called the shepherd. And the shepherd would be used for going around and gathering all the Vimps around in one area, so Monstro could feed. So it's just a step up for an upgrade up for Monstro. But it sort of hit a point where we actually developed quite a lot of it, and then I just got a point where, what was I thinking? This is just a little bit too much, especially for the first introduction to the world. So of all the many things that got culled, that was one that was like, okay, we'll let that one go. In controlling the weather, that was something that I wanted more of for the Sea Reapers. We just had to scale that back because the ambition was just too high for the first version of Giants, at least. That's definitely something that I'm looking to pull into First Wonder a lot more. Not that anyone has particular control over the weather, but the weather actually affects gameplay at different times.
Yeah. Oh god.
So, I'd like to know what was your inspiration when you designed the mechs in Kabuto, not to mention Reapers. Seems like you took a trip through X videos right there. X videos?
X videos?
So I think it is.
Were
Yeah,
you
there's a
watching
combination.
photos?
Like Bob was also working on a lot of the characters. The I say the inception of sort of Giants was like following MDK, wanting to do a multiplayer game. With MDK, it was like my first 3D game. I'd seen, Doom had come out about a year and a half before. I was working on Earthworm Jim, came into the office. Someone had installed Doom on my PC. We hadn't seen it before, and I was initially irritated that someone had messed with my machine. But then I pressed forward and saw this 3D world, and I was like, holy shit, someone's finally done it. But I was in the middle of Earthworm Jim at that point, and we had to do that and then a sequel before I got a chance to move into 3D myself. And at that point, there were a ton of Doom clones and endless corridors and pipes and metal grates, and I was like, where's the fantasy in all this? Where's the style? When I grew up, I just imagined science fiction fantasy world as like crazy, open, explorative places, not like closed pipes and corridors. So the thrust behind MDK's look aesthetic was to take you into a more fantastical world. So I'm a more imaginative world. And so when I finished, and I think about the next place I wanted to go was, I kind of want to go on vacation. And so Giants aesthetic is a vacation. It's all these islands and beautiful beaches where all this action can take place. And so the other thing I was thinking about was I didn't get to do multiplayer on MDK, so I'm going to do it on Giants, but I'm going to one-up it and have these different races. And that just seemed exciting to me. And so I just had a very loose idea, which was Giants versus Pirates versus Wizards, Magic type of thing. And the mechs were the Pirates, not the Sea Reapers. Obviously just like a sort of roguish bunch of characters, and they eventually became, these cockneys. And so that's where the sort of inception of the character of each of these things came from. And then from character design, Bob Stevenson did a lot of the sort of character designs, especially on the mechs. We were like, a lot of times me and Bob worked very well as artists. We would actually share models, so he'd work on part of it, and then I'd work on part of it, and we'd go back and forwards. Bob and I had been, in a way, rival artists back in the UK during the late 80s, early 90s, on the sort of 8-bit scene. We'd never actually met before, so it's kind of a weird thing, but we knew of each other. And we didn't meet really until we were both hired by Virgin Games over in the US. And so when we first met, we were kind of a little cagey of each other, like, hey, you're Nick Bruty. I'm like, hey, you're Bob Stevenson. And we sort of extended careful handshakes to each other. But then within minutes, we realized that we've been leading pretty much the same life for the past, 15 years, and shared all the same stories and became the best of friends. And decided we really want to work together. And so it was always a sort of great partnership on art and design. And it was really fun for me because I was so used to being a sort of solitary artist, especially in the sort of 8-bit and 16-bit days where you pretty much did everything, backgrounds, animation, everything, by yourself. And so it was fun to have like an art partner for a change who you weren't necessarily competitive with, but you just wanted to make things better. And so we just had a really great partnership that way.
Ready, Mr. Bass! So I'm just going to take a quick moment and point out... Oh, that's not good. There we go.
Actually,
I just wanted to point out that we have a new community site up before Nick goes into his next super interesting topic, where you can come and talk about First Wonder more if you don't get your question answered here, if you're watching this later or something. Brand new site that's all super modern forum-y. In fact, there might still be a few bugs, so sorry about that if they're there, but hopefully they're resolved by now. But come on by and join in the conversation. Get back to the game. You want to keep playing this level, or what do you want to do?
you can. Yeah, when you jump into the next level.
All right.
More controls and stuff. One thing I was going to say about working with other artists, I was a freelancer in the UK for so long. I've got no art training at all, and so I've learned from people I've been with, and that started mainly in the States. Just a second.
Hunger in the Codpiece Hills. That's super gross.
And so one of the great things was like when I came to the States, working with like animators like Mike Deese, Ed Schofield, Doug Tenapple, of course, from Earthworm Jim. It's not my natural thing to do cartoony style characters like Jim and Aladdin, the games we worked on. But I learned a lot from being around those guys, and it definitely added a flavor to me. And likewise with Bob, I learned from him and many other people. So I enjoy that process. That's a really awesome process.
Someone asks, whoa, I lost it. Do you plan to add some reference to Giant's story in First Wonder? Dangerous had Majorcan prophecy, and First Wonder will be set on planet Majorca. And also somewhere down the line, how is gonna be multiplayer based like?
Well, multiplayer on First Wonder is going to be something else. Giants was just the first pass at this style of multiplayer. We're going far beyond it with First Wonder. It's funny when I see some comments about people who are concerned about, will it have the character of this, or will it have the variety of that? It's actually going to be so much beyond that that I think everyone will be sort of quite satisfied with the end result. But it's going to take time. Like Giants, First Wonder will be the first pass of the next generation of that gameplay, and by hopefully having a successful crowdfunding process, I will get to keep the rights this time, and so I can then keep evolving the gameplay with follow-ons.
Which does answer the next person's question. Does Interplay still own the Giants IP?
Yes, they do. So, as I said before, when I left to make Giants, they wanted me to make MDK 2, but I passed on that. So I never got to make my sequel to MDK, and I wanted to make, obviously, Giants 2. When I was making Giants, I had like Giants 2, 3, 4 rolling in my head. And I couldn't wait to sort of continue that journey. And so it was actually quite frustrating for me to not be able to follow up on those. And then, the industry kind of changed. Mid-tier publishers disappeared, the kind of publishers who would fund this type of game. And so I wasn't really sure how it was going to get started again until I saw, Tim Schafer being successful with the Kickstarter program, and Brian Fargo, of course, in Excel, and also the publisher Interplay of these games. And so then I started to see a path that, hey, this could actually happen again. And I think we could be potentially more successful this time, because these games are a little unusual, they're a little quirkier. The standard sort of marketing doesn't work so well in masses, but social connection, social media, finding our audience directly and talking to them, that can get us to find us the right audience, get us to the right place. What's the original question?
One was there going to be a reference in First Wonder to Giants, and the other one was what's multiplayer, and you kind of mixed them all together.
Right. Well, there will be some references, obviously, we're playing a game on Planet Majorca. I want to be careful not to overlap that too much.
It's more of a callback, you would say, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a new game in the right style. As I said, when we making Giants, the mechs were the most advanced, Reaper's second most, and Kabuto the least developed. So we didn't quite finish the game. So in a way, like First Wonder allows me to finish that part and expand onwards. So you'll feel the connective tissue between the games.
Let's see. Will First Wonder have a single player where we, the players, will be able to make... Oh my gosh, you can't read that and play at the same time. Something to do with the players affecting the world? Is that what it says?
You play. I'll read
I just got killed trying to read.
Okay.
Buster Sand, you got me killed.
First, the artistic part of MDK 1 was just insane. It's the soundtrack even today. The gameplay was just my brain. Well, thanks for that nice mention of MDK. Nick, how come you're tough to introduce Kabuto in the storyline by making Dofa transform into it? it's always a struggle when we want you to play characters that are both sort of good and bad. Like, how do you make that work in the storyline? Luckily for me, I don't like standard plots. I get bored by movies that keep using the same plot time and time again. So I allow the plot to go off into crazy places because I think it's just more interesting and it will drive more interesting events. But thankfully that works in actually trying to tie up this sort of convoluted way of making you play the good guy and the bad guy. And so obviously in some ways you make the bad guy not necessarily a bad guy in certain contexts. And we have some of that in First Wonder because obviously, in the single player campaign, we want you to play all the characters.
I don't know what that pitch is. Whee! By the way, if any of you are going to be at PAX next week, we're going to be showing First Wonder there, as you may have noticed. But also, Nick has generously agreed to, if you bring some of your Giants gear that you've managed to hang on to over the years, he will sign it. So, if you like that sort of thing, come on by. And if you bring anything super weird, I'll sign it, which it's up to you whether or not you care about that or not. I suppose if you bring some, like, I don't know, Monkey Island or Republic Commando stuff, I'll sign it, but, I was one of many of a very talented team there, so your mileage may vary. I don't even know if I'm going the right way. Will there be beautiful Majorcan ladies?
There's a part. People have asked about the third race. Will there be a third race?
Oh man, I'm super not in the right place.
There is a third race written into the storyline of the game, but it pans over some sequels. And I don't want to reveal too much about it because it actually ties back into the first game. I don't know, I'm being a bit cryptic there.
Hey, you gotta leave something to mystery, right?
Well, it's still early days. This whole process for us, doing the crowdsourcing, we're doing stuff that we normally wouldn't let people see at this point. This would just be my previs type work as I frame things. But in the world of crowdsourcing, you have to set stuff out there. So I've seen some comments where people go, well, there's one guy comparing palm trees from Giants to the palm trees in the First Wonder. And obviously, at this point we're using a lot of stock stuff in order to frame stuff and set things up. We won't get into real production art until we actually have a production budget, right? Makes sense. But people's perceptions when they see things are, oh, this is like final game. No, this is very much teaser work that you're seeing here, and the work at PAX will be playable, but it is still teaser work. So I don't want to set expectations too high or anything at this point.
I'm really glad you have interesting things to say because I'm
Where are you?
I have a bit of I don't know.
I'm looking at bad UV mapping seams. Please take me somewhere else.
I'm trying to go
I don't need to
somewhere.
see that.
Keep saying interesting things. This is super terrible and embarrassing. I'm lost.
Oh wait a minute! You didn't even have your jetpack, your turbo jetpack.
Oh, I don't even know if I have it
You're having
yet.
trouble flying around.
Do I have that yet? I don't know.
Maybe you should go to Dick Whittington Island and get some hardware.
I don't know. Oh, I finally made it up here. I think I'm supposed to be over here. That was.
Are you actually doing a mission?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm not just walking around having a tour. I know you said it's a vacation.
Did you collect
and
the
all
vent meat?
that. I collected some. I wasn't really paying attention. I was just listening to you. Oh, hey, here we go. Hey, buddy. Oh, am I supposed to bring enough vent meat here? Was that what I was supposed to do?
Yeah, shooting at the floor and throwing grenades at your feet as you boost more. That was a great fun trick. It wasn't something by design, but I love the fact that it came out that way.
I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing here.
Wait, are you collecting vent meat still?
I guess so.
Didn't have enough?
I was totally not paying attention because it's my fault. Yes, I know. I'm sorry. I'm terrible, Dario. I failed you. I failed everybody.
Oh, you're getting his wife.
Hmm? I'm getting his wife?
You delivered the vent meat?
No, we didn't do anything.
Oh, you still got the count. Yeah, go
Oh,
back
there
to
we go.
me.
My bad. I was engrossed in Nick's story too, everybody. I'm sorry. It's his wonderful British accent. It's impossible to not listen to.
So yes, there will be more races and lots of different characters in First Wonder. The world of First Wonder is going to have much more depth for you to discover. Not necessarily all goal driven, just stuff that you can. I think I always like games where you've got clear goals and clear action items, but you can actually spend some time wandering around and finding stuff. So this time I really wanted to layer things into the islands, but have real value to you. Not just like, hey, you just found a piece of art. But no, hey, I just discovered an underground cave. I don't actually need, but can actually give me a shortcut across the world. And there's going to be lots of like things like this about the island. There's also going to be clues about what's the history behind Monstro, where some of the characters come from, clues to where the third race are coming from when they turn up. Yeah, a lot more depth, a lot more mystery discovered on top of your regular game goals.
By the way, whose idea was it to have the Vimps turn into ghosts when you kill them? I always thought that was super funny.
I can't remember.
Get the meat, then the wife. Sound advice for all stages of life. Someone has a question, a super excited question about the Giants IP. I already forgot how to get there.
Nicky Boy 88 is asking, is Giants Kabuto project planning to be launched on Steam? Are you referring to First Wonder? In which case, that's our plan to do that. Obviously, assuming Steam allows us and we actually build the bloody thing. If your game's successful, you think of buying the Giants IP. I would love to buy the IPs back for MDK and Giants. Even if I never did anything with them. But if I did, I'd probably do something. So yeah, those are, years of my life went into those things, and they're precious to me. I spiritually feel like I own them. It'd be nice if I could actually cross that and have them back too. But that's the whole reason why we're going this direction with First Wonder. So we can own it and keep developing it.
Yeah, come visit us. Sure. We love having visitors. Yumi.
Will First Wonder have big open world or only based on missions? Well, it's a sort of mixture of both. And that's kind of like one of the developing game design theories, whatever you call it, that I've taken from MDK to Giants, where I wanted much more big open worlds, but I was capped by my technological restrictions on MDK. With Giants, I could take that further, and you can see like we sort of compromised detail to give us more larger worlds. So I'm not into having like a complete, total free roaming world where you just go through everywhere and you accidentally stumble across things. I like having goals and missions that are quite clear, but I do want a certain amount of exploration. So in terms of scale, compared to Giants, First Wonder, an average First Wonder level would be the equivalent of about 3 to 4 Giants Islands together in one mission. So there's much more to do. There's much more strategy and tactical play that you can choose to participate in, using those islands to close off Monstro or the Cosmos. Each island will have its own sort of special powers and mysteries to be revealed, and you can decide at the start of the game whether you're going to go straight at Monstro, or are you going to try and cut off the islands, or are you going to try and discover things about the islands that will give you an advantage.
Ow.
There's going to be many more different ways to play the game.
Oh, I didn't know you had that in there. Look at that. Look at me! I bet one of you enterprising souls love this game so much you can finish the whole game playing it this way. We should offer a prize. If you can finish Giants looking at only the front of your guy, you'll get something. Anything we want to share about the pack stuff yet?
Well, even though it's a few days away, we're still in the middle of stuff right now. So after this, I've got to go and make a trailer. So right now the cargo mods are kind of broken. We have to go fix those first, and then make the trailer. And the trailer will be for packs, but we're going to release that trailer for next week. It'll be a short thing and just sort of highlight moments. But realize that you guys haven't seen sort of anything in motion at this point. Just some screenshots. Maybe that initial Kabuto animation, monster animation test. Oops, slip of the tongue. So you'll see, definitely see a little bit more. You'll see a lot more than you've seen today on that trailer.
Do you remember how to do the bush thing? I wasn't paying attention again. How do I turn on the bush thing?
Oh, enter or space or something?
Space? Oh!
Totally fine. Shift is shift not doing?
No! Skip. Says, use the bush pack in capital red
Why don't
letters.
you just jump to
Jump somewhere?
Witcherton Island.
Alright. We got about 15 more minutes.
Okay. Now, the animal population in the first one, that's one of my favourite things. It's a certain scale to it that I can't actually build it until we have production. But when Monstro is discovered and he's a fossil, he's placed amongst these other creatures in the galaxy's sort of most dangerous zoo. And when he comes to life, obviously the zoo goes crazy, everything escapes out into the island. And these creatures are from all over the galaxy. So all these weird creatures take off into the island and start mating and doing all kind of weird things. So suddenly that island, which has normally docile little creatures, kind of like Vimps, are now being blended with all kinds of crazy creatures. So not only do you have to go and deal with Monstro, but you also got sub-goals of actually dealing with these other crazy creatures that are out there too. And of course we have the Majorcan race. So it's spoken about all.
Who voiced Baz, Reg, and the rest of the mechs?
Yeah, I can remember names. Someone.
It's incredibly helpful.
Yeah, I wasn't prepped on that. I'd have to sort of go back in time for that one. It'd be obviously quite fantastic. I know that. I think it's Pat Phoebe, is that his name?
Pat Huey. That's
ring a bell?
someone famous?
Am I just saying a famous name?
I don't know. You have to tell me. I remember
No,
this.
you know what, the whole voice talent thing was so great because we were nervous about it. You know, we've been living with Tim's scripts for a long time, and we knew what characters felt like. We knew what our own sense of humor was. But man, you give it to someone else, and they got to speak these parts, and you just don't know what's going to happen. And you get one shot at it because we didn't have much budget. One shot to get this thing right. And to a delight, these guys sort of just hit it out of the park. And come up with, like, obviously some of the accents are rather sort of bizarre. Welsh that sounds Scottish, and Scottish that sounds Welsh, and all kinds of things. But the tone of it, the delivery, and you know those guys were having a huge laugh with it as well. You know, they couldn't believe what they were reading, and so they were clearly having fun, and that comes through in the recordings. So it would be awesome. We could possibly track some of those guys down again. That sort of depends on the success of our campaign. If we have the budget to do that. Obviously, we're sort of starting off. Kickstarter budgets are obviously a lot smaller than publisher budgets back then.
Dario says Space Beast Orgy in First Wonder. That sounds like like something you should apply your awesome fan art skills to, buddy.
Okay, yeah. Dario, I want to see your imagining of that.
I'm gonna steal some of your scotch, man. Ooh.
Oh, did someone find the name?
Yummy.
It's fascinating.
Ooh, why was Planet Moon Studios like canceled? That is a sad story, friend.
Yes. That's probably for another cast some other time. You know, being an independent developer can be a pretty tricky thing when you get to a sort of mid-scale. It's easier when you're small because it doesn't take as much overhead to keep going. But when you get to a certain size and you're trying to keep that big team together, and the sort of time period of like I guess early 2000s, when publishers began to second guess themselves more and used to cancel a lot more projects, and that created just havoc on us small to mid-tier developers. So you sort of try and create stability so you can work on your passion projects, but constantly, the floor keeps getting taken out from under you, and you end up sort of chasing your tail a bit, trying to keep this organization going. And so ultimately, Planet Moon, we kept. Our goal was to get back to making games like Giants, but trying to create the right circumstances where we'd have the freedom to make the type of game that we wanted to make, which is not easy, and really just generally requires self-funding. But anyway, our goal was we're trying to keep the team together as much as we could, and also improve production practices and all kinds of things, and make ourselves into a viable company for other people to work with. But that situation, we got caught out on a couple of projects that got sort of cancelled in obscure ways that we couldn't recover from. So
Skillful dodging, sir.
Yeah. Can't really talk about that stuff.
I totally, once again, forgot to pay attention to what
script
I'm
for
supposed to
that.
be doing here. But what am I doing here? So this
But in
game
some sense,
doesn't have-
when Planet Moon closing and starting Rogue Rocket much smaller, just in the same way when I started Planet Moon, just with 5 people, it enables a chance for these type of games to happen. So, when Rich and I started to do, we decided to partner up, one of the things was stay small. We're going to stay small so we can actually create these chances.